Jesus is the answer for the world today. Above him there's no other, 'cause Jesus is the way.
You've got to really listen in this particular group, because these are the details of groups. So our first question is, what is a group? It's like a second family. On this slide, I've given you some of the different ideas of what we want in a group. Some people, their family was dysfunctional. The group takes the place of that with a functional family. So what does a functional family look like that we're trying to put together? The first one, it's connected a lot better than the dysfunctional family. The materials, whatever is learned, you learn the materials, but you also you balance the subject material and the connectedness. It has to be a real relationship in the group. Discipline and instruction are balanced with grace. In a good family, that's true, right? If you just think about it, a group is like a very good family. But most of the people you have in the group came from very dysfunctional families. And so they're not going to know how to do a functional family, and your job as the facilitator is to make sure that this is a functional family that they're being part of, not another dysfunctional family. The rules of the group, and we'll actually have copies of that and so on, are used to protect the time, the process, and the members. That's why we have a rule with confidentiality, because it protects the members. They're not going to be hurt by being in the group. Accountability with honor and grace for all members. So you have to be careful that it doesn't get out of whack. Spirit-led prayer. Confrontation, if you have it in the group, is met with love, forgiveness, and honor. When I look at confrontation, it's a little bit different. Confrontation is, how can I clarify something with you and still keep you on my side? I'm not trying to make you my enemy. I'm not trying to drive you away. I'm not trying to make you look bad. I'm not trying to dishonor you. If I do any of those things, I'm not confronting in a right way. I'll give you my favorite way of confronting. I'm sorry. I'm confused. You said this, and you did that. I don't know what that means. You see how I'm not dishonoring the person or anything like that? I'm simply trying to clarify the situation. I'm showing them that there's some disconnect in what they seem to be doing and what they seem to be saying. So that's something that we need to learn. Support in strengthening. If the group isn't making them better, you're doing something wrong. Members want to attend. That's another. If you have a group, maybe from Life Challenge where they have to be there, okay? If they don't want to attend, that's a big red flag, isn't it? Because if they're getting help, they're going to want to attend. Members are validated and honored. Remember all the stuff that we covered about self-worth and significance and that kind of stuff. Mentoring and sponsorship occur outside of the group. Relapse prevention assistance is provided. That's what we want the group to look like. So there are all sorts of dynamics in groups. Here are the ones that were important to us that we want to deal with. Love and acceptance. If you don't have love and acceptance, that's going to be a major problem in your group, isn't it? So that's an issue that's going on. Safety and trust. Confidentiality, we talked about. Consistency. Empathy and comfort. Hope and encouragement. When I say by dynamics, these things rise and fall and change in a dynamic way all the time as the group is functioning. Power and control. You have to realize they're not victims, but God is in control. Openly and honesty. The fears are okay. Vulnerability is okay. We get rid of denial. Freedom of expression. The opportunity to openly talk, feel, and act. Information and perspective. We discussed the cause and the solutions. Cohesion. Cohesion is critical. This group's either going to hold together and eventually work together as a team, as we'll see in a little bit, or it's going to fall apart. Building cohesion takes respect, involvement, and a shared lead. Actually, in groups, it's better to not just have one leader, but have multiple leaders, and even let people take a turn being the facilitator if they have the capability of doing that. Group norms: attendance, on time, sharing themselves. What are the principles of groups? And I said, this is a lot of information again, but these are just things you need to sort of know about. Now, these principles are really critical, so listen to what's going on here, okay? Because this will make or break your group. People join to satisfy individual needs. What does that tell us? If you're not satisfying individual needs, they're not going to come back. So you have to be structured, figure out what the needs of those people really are, the deep needs, and if you meet the deep needs, you're going to be successful in your group. People remain if their goals and activities are rewarding. If they get something out of it, if they're learning something, if they connect with somebody, then your group's going to work. People prefer groups of similar age, attractiveness, attitudes, economic status, perceived ability, and needs. What does that mean? If you mix a lot of high-functioning and low-functioning people, that's not going to work as well. If they feel they're one of the group, again, if we have this honor-shame thing, and they feel, well, I'm an untouchable, and all the rest of these people are Brahmas, you see what I'm saying? That's not going to work as well. And if you grow, you might actually have, although you don't want to segregate, you're going to generally have about the same level people in the group. Participation decreases as size increases. At what point should you split a group? We say after it's 20. A good group we like to have around 8 to 10, but if 15, those kind of things, 20. But again, you don't have to totally start a new group. You can take those 20 people and get an assistant leader and say, now we're going to break up into smaller groups to do the discussion. And now we're going to have this group of 10, and I'll take that, and my assistant leader will take this other group of 10 over here. So there are ways of handling this without making separate groups if you don't have that. Social adjustment adds to group functioning, while unconventional and anxious members detract. You're going to have some people in the group that are sort of not very socially, they don't really know how to do things that fit in with your culture, and they're going to cause you problems. Where people that are more socially fit in with the group are going to be easier to handle. Spiritually, sensitivity helps, super saints inhibit. See, not only do you have the problem if you're a super saint, but what if you get people in your group who are super saints? Oh, I've got it, I read my Bible 8 hours a day, I pray for 15 hours a day, I've got it all together, I know everything. What are you going to do as a leader? That's very nice that you know everything, but let's let everybody else share. Members are more highly motivated in groups which have clear goals and understand how to achieve them. That's why we spent the last 2 days, so you have a foundation, understand about addictions, so you can know how to achieve them. You can have a clear picture in your mind of what it takes to get out of an addiction. You can use the Samson model. You can use other things. So you know where we're going with the group. It's not just a bunch of people sharing ignorances. Shared ownership of goals, that means when you're leading the group, and we're going to see the stages of groups here in a minute, that you want them. Okay, what goals do we want to have in this group? You draw them in and help have the group set the goals. You as the facilitators make sure they're okay, but you get them to share. Facilitator doesn't want to talk any more than they have to. You want to get the group talking and them sharing as much as possible, but you're still directing it. Mixed gender and personality types are more conforming and performing. Similar age is better. That may not be true in India. Okay, that's true in the United States. I understand one situation where they couldn't get any of the ladies to talk because in that part of the culture, the ladies had to have permission from their husbands to talk, and the husband didn't give them permission. You know, if you're an alcoholic, do you want to give your wife permission to talk about the issues of your family in that support group that you don't know is confidential? So you might get some of that kind of stuff. But you'll have to decide what works best here. The initial stage of groups. When you have your group, once you get it started, you're going to go through these stages. Okay? In the initial stage, let's just say we took 10 of you guys, set up right now, and said, let's get started. What would happen? Well, you got to do certain things to get the group put together, don't you? Establish rules, attendance, confidentiality, sponsorship, cliques. That means do we have a couple friends over here, and they sort of, or these 3 people get together over here, and they're friends, and they exclude everybody else. Socializing. Are we going to allow people to socialize after the group? Generally we do, but we don't want that necessarily to be happening, because they'll become a clique, and that's a little group over here knows everybody else, and they exclude new people that come. Dealing with initial resistance. Why do we have initial resistance in groups? People don't know what to expect. They just get out of their mind. They might be rejected. They might not be accepted. Is this safe? All those questions when you start a new group are coming up in their heads. What's the best thing to do? Start with some sort of an icebreaker, like, why did you decide to come to this group? What is your greatest fear about coming to this group? And then you open up and share your fear. But my greatest fear in this group is that none of you are going to talk. Have members openly share their anxieties about the group, get acquainted, and you say a few things about yourself, and the leader and others openly share. When you set up a group, get some of your friends. Try and get them to commit. And they're going to be with you for 6 months. No matter what goes on, and they're going to be there, so you have that core group when you arrive, and you don't just come one day and there's no one sitting there. Questions asked. These are what the people are asking. Who are these people? Will I be in or out of this group? Do these people like me? Can I trust them? Do I like them? How much do I want to risk? So you're going to have some people in the group that, well, I'll come and check it out. I'm not sure about this thing. I don't think I'm going to share anything. Eventually you'll get to them, and if you can include them in the group, they're eventually going to fit in and so on. So don't worry about that. Initially, expect all these issues and all this stuff going on. The strategy is to develop a sense of security, display commitment to the group, take individual interest in the members. Need to learn their names, it'd be very useful. Deal positively with people's concerns. Respond properly to painful emotions. Give honesty, spontaneity, genuineness, warmth to demonstrate that you are a safe person. Because if the leader is a safe person, let's say somebody says something stupid, and the leader says, "Can you believe he said that?" Now, what are you going to say? Can you tell us more about that? Or what do you think about that? You're not going to, especially in the first initial stage, you're going to be the nicest person that ever walked on the face of the earth. And you are going to treat everything they do, even if you just, it blows your mind that they could be so ignorant. No, you're going to do what? Value them as a person and not judge them by what they say and how they act and what they do. We love you. We care for you. You're important to us. That's the initial stage. Notice it's called forming and norming. The two main things are you're forming the group and you're coming up with a norm of what this group is going to be like and how this group is going to function. And the idea is to get everybody safe and comfortable so they'll come back. Okay? Then we have the transition stage. Let's accomplish something together. Power and position. At this point, you get these negative feelings. You get some people that want to dominate the group. You have to deal with that. Negative feelings, because they might accuse the leader. You might have somebody raise up and said, "I'm smarter than you are. I can do a better job leading this group. Why in the heck are you the leader? You think in the Bible, remember Aaron? Don't expect that. That's what we're telling you. This is how groups function. Power struggles among the members might occur. Avoid defensiveness. Self-disclose your feelings. You know, I'm just trying to help you. I'm just trying to facilitate here. I'm not trying to control you or tell you what to do. You know, and you told me I was a no good bozo. That sure didn't help my feelings. The more open you are, the more they're going to be open, the more you're going to be comfortable. What do you not want to do as a leader? Get defensive. Have to defend your turf. You know, you better honor me. You better respect me. You know, I'm a man of God. Must keep the line between leadership and a member. This is a problem, although we want to be sort of on their same level, they have to accept you as the facilitator. Somebody has to facilitate this group. Somebody has to do it. And if you act just like a member, what's going to happen to the group? And you can say, so I'm going to be leading this group. If we decide next week that you're going to lead the group, then you come sit in this chair and you lead the group. But as long as I'm here, I'm the leader. I'm the one that's going to direct things. I'm the one that's responsible for protecting people, to making sure everyone doesn't take over the time and that the group accomplishes something. And that's my responsibility. So I'm not exactly, when I'm facilitating, on the same level as you, although as a person, I'm the same as all of you. I have the same problems as you, but my job description is different. I have certain responsibilities I have to hold on to here. I help members focus on their self and confront other focus. What are we talking about? People say, well, I've got this kid that has this problem. Or, you know, you need to straighten out your life. No, it's all, you're here for you, you work on you, John works on John, Mark works on Mark. And as a leader, you keep that and you make sure that they're working on themselves and they're not going to try and fix other people or manipulate other people or do other things like that. You must reach critical mass in numbers and have cohesion. Remember I said critical mass is 2 leaders and 5 people, minimum. You get less than that, things start dwindling. Desirable traits: trust and acceptance, empathy and caring, hope, commitment to change, intimacy, self-disclosure, conflict resolution. What are the dangers? Becomes closed to outsiders. We have our group, we like each one, we're friends, we like our group the way it is, and let's quit advertising. In fact, let's just have our group, and we're fine here, and we're comfortable here, so we're not going to reach out. We're not going to, and your group, by the way, will die sort of like the Dead Sea. And the Dead Sea is dead because all the water runs in, it's not no place to go. If you're not reaching out, it's not going to work. Lose desire to change. Lose focus of what this group's all about. Now the one we're looking for is the next one. It's called the working stage. Now how does the working stage look different? Everyone is working to help each other. In these initial stages, guess who's probably running the whole show? You, the facilitator, are trying to get things going. You're trying to set these rules. You're trying to get people to agree on this stuff. And even in the transition stage, you're trying to keep them from attacking each other. You're trying to keep them from controlling and all of that kind of stuff. In the working stage, you might have to say anything. Somebody will bring up an issue, and this person will contribute, and that person will contribute, and that person will contribute. They're working and really accomplishing the goal. And that's what you're trying to do, is to get in to that working stage and keep in the working stage as long as you can. But they're all working, they're all committed now, they're all helping each other, they're all working stuff, and you don't have to be the one that's presenting all the material and asking all the questions and so on and so forth. If you are, you're not a good facilitator. Remember, this isn't leader, meaning I run the show, this isn't counselor. This is facilitator. My job is to facilitate the interaction of everyone and keep things going in the group so that people get the help that they need to get. Self-disclosure versus anonymity due to the fear of rejection. When do you as a leader disclose something and when do you not disclose something in a group? If it's going to help the group, you disclose it. If it's just because you're going to look good or you want to tell some story, don't disclose it. Because your job is to be there for what? The good of the group. And that might be hard sometimes. Because especially as some people are dealing with some really deep issues and you've had some struggles yourself, to admit, I used to really struggle with that, and when I did, this happened and this happened and this happened. But when you do that, you just now normalize things so that other person is now going to be able to be open up and they feel accepted. Honesty prevails versus game playing. If people are really honest about what they're saying, they're not trying to win the approval of the group. They're not trying to, again, think of those issues we talked about earlier of how you see things. Spontaneity of movement versus unnatural control. You don't walk into the group, well, I'm going to accomplish this, this, and this today. In the working stage, you want them to sort of a spontaneous type of thing. Now, I'll tell you how I sort of work, okay? You know what the worst thing in the group is? It gets flat, and it gets dull, and there's no energy, and there's no excitement. I fear that much more than people blowing up and having conflicts and all of those kind of things. So what I'll do is I'll read over the material in the book for the next one, and I'll figure out some very controversial questions. I call them hand grenades. We're talking about, let's say, spiritual growth and so on. And I'll say, how many of you ever prayed and didn't get an answer? You think that's going to stir some people up and there are going to be a few people that are going to struggle with that particular issue or going to... I'll have deep questions that people are going to maybe not want to talk about. And so if things get dull and things are not going someplace, I'll throw in a couple of hand grenade questions. And the whole thing blows up, and all of a sudden there's energy and all sorts of things are happening, and we get deeper into the group. So you have the questions you use. We get deeper into the group. How many here have ever relapsed? Well, I'm saying in the group, you use that as a question. There are only two answers. You're either free or you're in bondage. How many of you are free? How many of you are in bondage? Now, you're first saying it's okay to be free or in bondage. It's not okay to stay there. But we're going to get into that deeper today. So you have some things in the background, but you're not trying to totally control the group, and you're trying to deal with the thing you're talking about here. The choice of cohesion to bond together versus fragmentation. If members will not face their fears or disappointments, you might fragment. Responsibility for actions versus blaming the victims. You get somebody in there and say, it's just my wife. If my wife wouldn't talk to me like that and that and that, I wouldn't be a dick. What do you do as a leader? You say, guys, what do you think about that? See, again, you try not to fund all the questions. You always try and take it to the group and let the group deal with this. What's the group probably going to say? Man, you're just blaming somebody else. Why don't you take responsibility for yourself? Leadership issues. Real working energizes the group. If we're starting to accomplish, if people are doing well, if something's happening in their life and they're getting help, resistance needs to be confronted openly. If you see somebody that is, and they're really resisting, they're doing things, you're going to have to say, guys, how did that feel? What's going on here? How come it seems this group's just frozen now today, just not moving? We were doing good and now we're not doing good. But the idea is that the facilitator to always try to draw out the group. Now sometimes you're going to have to teach. If you're there and you ask the question, how many of you here know how to hear from God? And not one hand goes up. What are you going to have to do? Well, I know it's a struggle, and I struggled with it, but this is what helped me learn how to really hear from God. And so you may have to do that if the people don't know of what to do to get out of these things. Express what we see happening in the group. I don't know about you guys, but man, this group feels dead today. What do you think? You know, we were all drunk last night. And you can joke around a little bit too. See, another thing is you might have to lighten up the group a little bit. You know, if it's just so serious that everyone's just shaking in their boots. Investigate barriers to effective work. You're going to have to deal with some people in the group that are making the group not work. It's not going to function. And that's the working stage. We want to keep them in the working stage as long as we want. Now see, in our groups, because anyone can come in at any time, we already have the norming done. We already have the conforming done. And so when a person comes in, just by the group experience, they learn how this group operates, and it's already going. It's been going for the last 10 years. We've been going for 5 years or something. So therefore, when a new person comes in, you integrate them in, but you're integrating the new people like one at a time, or two at a time, or three at a time. And you have people there for quite a while that will help the conforming and the norming and those things. And you try to maintain that working stage. And you're just drawing people into the working stage. They may be in transition right now, but the rest of the group is working. And that will help those people get into the working stage. And then we have termination. Why do groups end? Well, sometimes groups end because that was the agreement. We are doing the Experiencing God workbook. And it has 12 weeks, and we're going to do it in 12 weeks. And at the end of 12 weeks, this group disappears. Then we might start another group. And that's okay if the whole group agreed to that. But what are some other reasons? The task's accomplished. The group explodes in conflict. We're not going to keep the group going if it's hurting people. We've got people in there tearing it up. I'll tell you what we'll do though. See, every so often, especially in the drug alcohol groups, the domestic violence and the batterers groups, we get some people in there, they're not saved and they don't plan to be saved, and they are going to conflict with everything. Or they get several of their friends together. So what we'll do is we'll go and recruit some of the past graduates from that group, and we'll stack the group. We'll stack the group with Christians. We'll bring in people and we'll add people to the group until we have control of that group again, and then it's working and going in the right direction. There are a lot of things you can do in the leadership to make these things work. They might make a decision to end the group. Maybe leadership's not up for the task. In this situation, get a hold of Brother Biddish. He might be able to give you one of his people from his deal that can help lead your group. Understand, you're not on your own. We're all working together here to build these groups. And you're going to have sort of an organization here that can send people, that can help, that can, if you're struggling with something, you can call and ask, okay, this is what's going on in my group, I don't know what to do. If he doesn't know what to do, he can email us, and we'll try. But the main thing is we'll ask God and say, what should we do? Dividing groups into 4 more groups. Set around 20. We'll try and look for a leader, and we'll try to slowly transition a division into 2 groups. Change depletes membership. We'll try and recruit some more members if the group's starting to go down. Conflict with other church programs. We'll try to deconflict it. Members are not compatible. We'll say, why don't you go to that group and you go to that group over there and not beat each other up. Issues of group termination or a leader leaving. One of the problems, remember I said when groups change, many times you lose people. So what we'll do, and we know we have a leader that's going to be leaving, we put another leader in there. So we have now our assistant leader, and now we have another assistant leader, and we have a party when the leader leaves, and the other assistant leader's been in there for quite a while, so he's already accepted. So we just shift. We try not to, one day the group was going, the 2 leaders quit, so the next day 2 brand new people are sitting there. We try not to do that, because again it shifts things around, and now you have to reform the entire group. You have to go through those first 2 stages before you have a working group. again. Misgivings about termination. If you ever have to do a termination where you're in a group, you need to process it and have people talk about it so they have closure. We again are in the business of helping people, not causing conflicts and causing problems, and again, let the group make that decision. You see how that all works together? Members leaving. Explore reasons for leaving the group. It's okay to leave the group. We're not God's answer to everything in the world. If God's calling you to go someplace else, that's okay. But we want to help you, and if you think our group is terrible, would you please tell us a little bit of what things we could do to make this group better, to help people better? Do you see how it's sort of a soft approach though? You know, this idea about groups where you confront them. Let me tell you the two extremes. We're in the middle. We're balanced between teaching. We're soft, but we also confront in those kind of things. There are two things you don't want. Oh, you're the greatest thing that ever walked, and we go around and tell everyone else how much we like about the other person, and so on and so forth. And yeah, you feel good when you leave, but did you get anything? And then the opposite over here, we want to stay out of this ditch too, is we're going to straighten you out. You come in here, and we're going to confront you, and we're going to tear you down into a sniveling idiot, and then we're going to build you back up again. Or another one you want to stay away from. Okay, you joined our group, now you've got to conform. We're going to force you to be like us. We're going to brainwash you. You've got to think like we do. You've got to talk like we do. You've got to stand in your head like we do. No, we don't want any of that stuff, okay? That's all the junk. That's why groups have gotten a bad reputation sometimes. That stuff we avoid like the plague, and if we have those problems, if I had a group that went that way, I'd shut the group down. Start over.
But this session we just try to understand the dynamics of group. So the goal of the life group that is setting up is to help the people who are coming there to get free. It may not be as efficient as a life challenge center, but definitely week by week we are expecting that they will come and they will listen to the testimonies and they will start getting towards freedom.